This clip here from Nipsey Hussle will be the backdrop of what we'll talk about today. So let's just take a look at this in the intro and then we will continue on here.
There's less than 1% penetration, and that's a fact because I can't spend Bitcoin here. I gotta still spend US dollars or MasterCard credit or, established credit. Any one of these stores, there's no penetration in the real world. But there's a $27 to $800,000 increase in investment in this space. But there's a 1% penetration in the real world. So what happens when it gets 5% real world? When more people can spend their cryptocurrency at the store, at the restaurant, on the airplane, which is why we came to Amsterdam, because there's a city out here where the whole city is cryptocurrency friendly. And this is an example of what's going to happen to the rest of the world. And we think that if you get in now, when the value spreads, when the accessibility spreads, you'll be sitting on the right chair. And, being out here further brought that to my attention, reinforced my belief in it, and we put our money where our mouth.
So greater penetration, right? And today we're going to have a conversation about that with, talking about Coinbase. So Coinbase is going to, through its base layer 2, is going to connect the entire, all chains to the stock market. Okay. And let me come closer here. So Coinbase will connect all chains to the stock market. And then we're going to have a conversation about UBI again, because I talked about it before. And lo and behold, look at what's happening now. Wait till you see that. But again, UBI is going to lead to more adoption, more penetration, right? Once people get it in their hands and they see how easy it is, it's going to be like TikTok. It's going to be like Uber. It's going to make it easier to get more adoption. Simon Babakani has talked about this with Zebec. And hey, the more banks that use stablecoins, the easier it is for Zebec, right? So understand when we have this UBI conversation, it's going to be one through the lens of it's going to help crypto adoption get larger, right? And I know everybody's upset about price right now, but what they're missing is that the adoption, the penetration here is greater, right? The penetration is greater, okay? The penetration is greater with things like the Genius Act. We can finally do loans and things in cryptocurrency legally, like platforms like Metallicus's lending platform, platforms like Salt, which allow you to do lending in Bitcoin, are live, are active right now. So yeah, we're live now. We're live. So let's get into that conversation today. And it's going to be through the lens of greater adoption, greater penetration. This is what's happening right now. And price will catch up with it. But do you have the stomach to hold, right? Do you have the stomach to hold? So my phone's silent all day now. Now it's starting to ring. Okay, so let's go ahead and share our screen here. But first, let's get you into DCENT Wallet commercial now. I have many friends earning money every day trading futures on BTCC. It's simple. Even if you don't want to learn how to trade, you can follow a trader on the site and let him do the trading for you. And you'll earn according to his trades. So even if you don't know how to trade, there's a way to make money. Earn some extra money on BTCC. Of course, you should learn how to trade. Links to the Patreon are in the description. You don't have to KYC. You don't have to use a VPN. It's a wonderful site. They've been around since 2011. Give them a shot. Also, when you earn extra money, you can store it in your DCENT wallet. DCENT wallet is safe, easy to use, and it allows crypto swaps within the wallet. It's a wonderful product. You can get the discount by using the link. The only way to get the discount is to use the link. The link is popping up in the upper right-hand side of your screen. You can also get free shipping. Pick up your DCENT wallet today. Secure your assets. If you don't have them stored in a wallet, they may be at risk. So pick up one today. So there we are. And let's share the screen again here. Of course, love DCENT Wallet, love BTCC. You know, so let's go ahead and share the screen here. Okay, so again, I'm gonna just reiterate what I was saying here. I know Nipsey, and I posted this on my X. If you don't follow me on X, definitely follow me on X. We're looking to get that monetized at some point. I know Nipsey is talking about Bitcoin, but imagine what we are seeing with the penetration of ISO 222 cryptos right now. People are sad about the price, but what they're missing is the penetration in the real world. The adoption, the infrastructure is actively being put into place right now. Okay? And it is. It's being actively put into place right now with things like what's happening with Coinbase, with things like what's happening with the Genius Act, with things like what's happening with all these ETFs. All the infrastructure is being put into place right now for the market to thrive price-wise, right? No, we're not happy about the price right now, but all you got to do is have the stomach to hold. You will be happy later, okay? So we know that Base connects to a whole bunch of different things, but the thing that we're going to talk about that it connects to mostly right now is Ondo, right? But let's bring this up. We know this whole super chain ecosystem from Optimism. We got Optimism's chain, but of course we have Base. We have Inc. by Kraken. We know Kraken, they're selling tokenized stocks right now. Also, we got Metal Layer 2. We know Metal Layer 2, they have their own stablecoin, but all the credit unions will connect into Metal. So conceivably, if they can connect in via Metal to Base, now they can connect into Ondo and have, you know, access to tokenized stocks, okay? So Ondo is another abstraction layer that they're kind of putting on this. But if you understand that all of it connects back to Base, now you know, okay, well, since Metal Layer 2 connects to Base, they can tokenize stocks. Since World Chain, which is also working on UBI, they can connect back to the stock market. Since Inc. and Kraken are, you know, US wide and expanding, they can connect back to Base. Since, you know, shout out to my guy Maximus Crypto, Quant has extended Optimism, and they're the over ledger that sits over everything. They can connect into the stock market and all the other markets and program the money, but you know they can connect in this too. Jasmine as well. So there are a lot of connections that can happen there via Base. But let's just start here, right? Let's start with a couple different articles I want to pull up. One of which is Ondo. So understand that Ondo is kind of the big one that's going to connect and tokenize the stock market. Let's share this tab here. So Ondo, right? This is iq.wiki. Ondo Finance is a tokenized real-world asset platform created to broaden access to DeFi yields and cater with different risk preferences. It accomplishes this through a permissionless protocol that facilitates the creation of risk-isolated fixed-yield loans backed by yield-generating crypto assets. Okay, Ondo Finance was co-founded in March 2021 by former Goldman Sachs employee Nathan Allman. Okay, so we know that Ondo has connections to BlackRock, and we know also they can be used on a Base platform. Let me show you that I have that right here. Yes, Ondo Finance, the project behind Ondo Token and related products like USDY, Zebec, because we're going to also cover how Zebec is involved, while they're involved with USDY. And OUSD connects to Base, which is Coinbase's layer 2 network built on the Optimism superchain and is an ecosystem of the OP stack base chains, including Optimism, Arbitrum, Base for shared security and interoperability. Okay, so even though Ondo is not listed on this superchain ecosystem, just like Quant isn't and Jasmine isn't, they can connect. Okay, they can connect on this one right here. Even though they're not listed here, they can connect. They can connect to Base. So let's go back here. Key connections and integrations. We know tokenized stocks, which we're going to get into more in a second here. Tokenized assets on Base. Ondo supports real-world tokenized assets like U.S. treasuries, OUSG, and yield-bearing stablecoins like USDY. Directly on Base, this enables instant minting, redemption, lending, and trading with low fees, leveraging Base's throughput and Coinbase's user base. More on that later with Coinbase's user base. Okay, that's why they're kind of testing UBI through Coinbase, which I told you was probably going to come up. Definitely check out my show I did a couple days ago where I was talking about universal basic income and what it will do for crypto, right? I know a lot of people don't like talking about universal basic income. I'm not I'm not a communist or a socialist. I don't think that it works, but it does seem like a vehicle they're going to use to quickly onboard a whole bunch of people to crypto. But they're just testing it right now. Okay, so definitely check out that show. And it's really funny because I kind of theorized that they would connect it to cryptocurrency, and we talked about WorldCoin. Now Coinbase is doing it. So more on that a little bit later. And as always, guys, definitely keep your comments coming. We definitely, we get to our comments here. Shout out to our guy, Jack Thompson. Been a while, brother. Nice to see you. Shout out to patron Kevin Garrett in the house. What's up, ZBCN Legion? What's up, patron Rise Above in the house? What's up, Kimber Light? What's up, Flywell? All right, let's go. Let's keep going here. So here we have the key here, right? Ondo Finance. They say here, the traditional stock market holds 60 plus trillion value, yet most can't access it. This is a very, very, very key point, right? They want the stock market, the American stock market has the biggest bit of liquidity, but it isn't accessible 24/7. So Ondo is trying to make it accessible 24/7, but with a caveat, which we'll talk about in just a second. So again, traditional stock market holds 60 plus trillion, right? It's traditional American stock market and value, yet most can't access it. Through Ondo Global Markets, shares of 100 plus of the world's largest companies and ETFs are tokenized, making global access to these markets possible, right? And it's happening through Base. That's the one thing that they're kind of leaving out there. It's happening through Base, okay? Ondo is how Wall Street comes on chain. Now think about the implications of this as an investor. If it's happening through Base, Base is exploring issuing their own coin. I shared that on my X, which is why you definitely want to come and follow my X here. Let me pull that up for you. Just a second here. So Base is exploring their own coin, okay? And if they get their own coin, that will be pretty interesting on, okay, do we want to invest in Base's coin? So Base is beginning to explore a network token. Do we want to invest in that? Okay. Do you want to invest in Coinbase stock? Shout out to the patrons. We've been invested in Coinbase stock. Do you still want to invest in Coinbase stock? That's something for you to think about. Or do you want to invest in Ondo Finance? That's something for you to think about as well. Did I just close the window I was looking at here? 1 second. I think I closed it. Okay, I might have closed it. Okay, let me pull that right back up really quickly here. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Didn't mean to close that. Okay, let me grab it. Okay, here we go. All right, I think this is the one I'm still sharing. Okay, doing it live. Okay, so so again, through Ondo Global Markets, sharing 100 plus of the world's largest companies and ETFs are tokenized, making global access to these markets possible. Ondo is how Wall Street comes on chain. Now, let's look at this disclaimer, okay? It's important to note this disclaimer because it kind of seems like they're giving the global, like, rich or the global, like, accredited investor first dibs, if you will. So note global markets tokens, including Ondo, tokenized stocks, and Ondo's ETFs are tokens, have not been registered under the U.S. Securities Act of 1933, amended the act, or securities or financial instruments and laws of any jurisdiction. So again, since they're not securities as tokens, this may give people some type of tax advantage. And this may give them some type of tax advantage globally too, because who knows what that means, that they're not securities and they're investing in them. They may not be taxed the same as something else. Okay, as if they were securities, if that makes sense. The tokens may not be offered or sold in the United States to U.S. persons unless registered under the act or an exemption from the registration requirements thereof is available. So basically, they can't be sold to U.S. people unless they have an exemption. Funny how that works. The tokens are offered and sold in European Economic Area and the United Kingdom solely to qualified investors. So again, the accredited investor or qualified investor is getting first dibs. They're the only ones who can access this globally. So when they say it's available globally, there's a little bit of a caveat in that it's only globally available solely to qualified investors. And in Switzerland, solely to professional clients. Okay. Other jurisdiction-based prohibitions and restrictions apply. The issuer of the tokens is not registered as an investment company under the U.S. Investment Company Act of 1940 or as amended as alternative investment fund or undertaking for collective investment in transferable securities in the European Economic Area or under securities or financial instrument laws of any other jurisdiction. So the issuer of the tokens is not an investment company, right? Quote unquote. So again, this might get them around some tax implications there. So the issuers of them are not technically investment companies. But again, the people who are going to have access to these tokens, which are not securities, are the qualified investors and professional clients globally. Okay, so this is opening this up to the global rich or elite, so to speak, quote unquote, allegedly. Alleged. Everything I say is alleged. The tokens provide their holders with economic exposure to the value of the underlying publicly traded assets, including the value of the dividends. So they even get the value of the dividends. less applicable tax withholdings. However, the tokens themselves are not stocks or ETFs, so they do not provide their holders with rights to hold or receive prospective underlying assets. Nothing therein constitutes any offer to sell, blah, 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 blah. Their additional terms and restrictions apply. Ondo does not endorse. Ondo does not make any. Okay. So basically, they can hold the tokens and they even get the value of the dividends from the tokens. But technically, legally, they're not securities. Technically, legally, they're not the stocks themselves. Legally, technically. But they get the value of it. So it's very, very interesting. And this is what the Genius Act opened up, that they could tokenize this that way. So again, understand we're talking about, and this is not sexy, this is not exciting, but it is very important. Okay? Understand we're talking about adoption, we're talking about penetration, we're talking about infrastructure. All of this is getting set up, and this is positive for the overall crypto market. This is positive for us as crypto investors, even though it's the accredited investor who's going to get first dibs on this, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. So let's continue on here. So this is from Black Swan Capitalist. Shout out to him. He does great content. NASDAQ just filed with the SEC to tokenize every stock by 2026, and all tokenized assets will eventually route and settle through XRP as the bridge currency. That means trillions of value will move on chain, which aligns with the 2026 bull market. All value flows through XRP. So eventually, yes, all will eventually flow through XRP. But again, this is base connecting all this stuff together. All right. So now, okay, and also a little bit of speculation. Found this one chat. This is just some random person DM here. He says, Ondo Finance and Coinbase to provide US based tokenized stock access to millions, cross-chain compatibility, but with Rails loaded for integration onto Solana. Announcement December 17th. Well, I know they already announced, right, that Solana connects into Base. They just did some type of bridge with that. So again, I'm kind of showing you here how every kind of chain and things are being connected into the Base system. There's also another nice post here. Ondo chain is coiling. Ondo on chain is coiling with Ondo chain 2, Flux Finance Fire. Okay, but let's get into this part a little bit later. We're going to get into first UBI. Okay, UBI. And I kind of told you guys we talked about this happening a little bit ago, and it's actually happening. So MSN 160, I can't close this person. 160 New Yorkers get 12K in USDC as Coinbase's crypto UBI pilot begins. Okay, so 160 people in New York City are now receiving 12K each in crypto through a 5-month cash transfer program funded with money that came from Coinbase. The funds did not come directly from the exchange this year. Coinbase donated the money to a nonprofit after shutting down its own philanthropy program 2 years ago. That nonprofit is now running the pilot. The payments are going out in USDC and a stablecoin that tracks the US dollar. The goal is simple. On paper, move real money to real people using crypto rails and track what happens. The program started in September and will end in February. Each of the 160 participants began receiving $800 a month in USDC at the start of the pilot. On top of the monthly payments, each participant also received a one-time $8,000 lump sum payment in November. When the 5 months are finished, each person will have collectively collected exactly 12K. All transfers are delivered digitally through crypto wallets using USDC as the payment rail. So very, very interesting. The New York crypto pilot changed the usual payment pattern by adding a large upfront payment. Emma Kelsey, the program lead for New York cash transfer project, told Business Insider that the choice to include a lump sum came from past research. So remember, we did a look at a Sam Altman thing in which Sam Altman did this survey, and he did this through WorldCoin, where he's setting up WorldCoin to be kind of a UBI coin, so to speak. He said that. So definitely check out that show I showed you, where what UBI is and how it can help crypto and what it can do for crypto. But they're testing these programs to kind of see, okay, well, what happens if we do this? Like, how is this going to work for people? Is it going to be easy for them to use a crypto wallet? This is my guess. This is my speculation. But imagine that all of these tests are just a bigger test for what can happen when Trump sends out a possible dividend payment, and quote unquote, that's what he calls it, dividend payment in 2026 of $2,000, right? But they're testing this stuff right now, right? And Coinbase is being used for this test. So it's interesting because we had this conversation literally a week ago, and now here it is that Coinbase is doing this, right? Or was already in the process of doing this. So it's very, very interesting on how this can work out, right? But again, it's all into my thesis here that base is kind of like a centralized point for all of this stuff. Of course, everything ultimately will clear through the XRP ledger, because XRP is the the global real-time gross settlement system, the RTGS, right? But here, as far as like accessing the stock market, going through things like BlackRock and things like that, that's going to be Base and this Optimism super chain. They're setting it all up right now. They're also setting up the rules for kind of the infrastructure to things about how that tokenization is going to work through things like Ondo that we were just looking at, right? And having this stock market be global. And of course, they're making it so that the global elite have first access to it. And so much so that they're barring it, that Americans who might have like disposable income, they're not allowing us to access these tokens, right? They're not allowing it. So it's very, very interesting here what's happening. And I think we're on the cusp of everything completely happening, because we're going to get the Clarity Act, or the Crypto Market Infrastructure Bill. That's the next big piece to have the market go bananas, in my opinion. But you just need to hold on tight. So let's get into some of our comments here, and then we'll continue on and look at kind of some more of Ondo and some of the deeper things that are going on with what they're doing and connecting as far as the stock market is concerned, because they're having lending platforms and they're having the whole thing with USDY that involves Zebec. But let's take a look at some comments here. What's up there, Fly Veil? Yeah, we're just gonna say Fly Veil right there. What is up, Kimber Light too? What's up, Rise Above? What's up, Kevin Garrett? Rue Crew in the house. patron in the house here. Definitely, we just had our open mic night on Friday, guys. Every Friday at 6 p.m. Arizona time. It was fire as usual. We got into talking some stuff about, you know, Bitcoin Cash. We got into talking about a lot of different things. Definitely Patreon, less than a cup of coffee. And I might do some type of Christmas deal for the Patreon. We'll see. But definitely check out the Patreon. If you do a year membership, you get 20% off. So what's up, ZBCN Legion? What's up, my man? This is live. What's up, HSOO Tube? Funny, we're starting with this Nipsey video. I'm starting to hear more regular people bring up crypto where I live. Church I going to is accepting Christmas donations in crypto now. And see, that's it. That's it right there, Kevin Garrett. The adoption is just increasing and increasing. More people are starting to accept crypto. Even states are saying we're putting this on our treasury. One of the things we talked about in the Patreon, let's go ahead and bring up, patrons got this talk first, but let's go ahead and bring up Tammy Camp. She can tell us exactly what's going on with some of these structures that are being put into place now. Let's bring it up right quick here. Definitely love Tammy Camp around here. And Stronghold. Tammy Camp broke it down very, very nicely. Let's share this tab and get into it a little bit.
I'm Tammy Camp, CEO of Stronghold. We just got back from the SALT conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and here's what you really need to know. Crypto has become the infrastructure behind institutional finance. The panels were solid, but the most important conversations, they were happening off stage. Behind the scenes, everyone was talking about digital asset treasuries, or DATs. Shortly after the conference, it was confirmed that Galaxy Digital, Multicoin Capital, and Jump Crypto were working on a multi-billion-dollar Solana-focused DAT with Cantor Fitzgerald as the lead banker. No, it wasn't announced on stage, but if you were there, you heard it directly from the players involved. Deep dive meetings, strategic chatter. It was clear something big was coming. This DAT, which is now out, will be one of the largest of its kind, a publicly listed vehicle that holds digital assets with institutional access and regulatory guardrails. DATs are important because they allow institutions to invest in crypto assets without direct wallet custody. They offer traditional market access, on-chain assets held in public structures, and a compliant path to broader participation. In other words, DATs bridge the gap between DeFi and TradFi, which is exactly the kind of infrastructure Stronghold was built to support. Digital asset treasuries represent the future of treasury management evolving in real time. At Stronghold, we're already building the tools that make this kind of interoperability possible. From pay-by-bank embedded payments to token-powered merchant financing with SHX, we're designing infrastructure that works across both traditional and modern digital rails. Other themes we heard loud and clear at SALT. Institutional token trading is ramping up. Stablecoins are getting serious attention. Wyoming is innovating on the state level. And yes, Bitcoin still commands the room. Bitcoin forever was literally said out loud and more than once. Also, Eric Trump and American Bitcoin made appearances on stage and in the networking circles. It was that kind of summit. The takeaway, digital asset treasuries are more than a trend. They're a turning point, and Stronghold is ready. We're building the future of finance.
Of course, we know Stronghold is really tied at the hip with XRP. And the specific that she was talking about, I believe, is Securitize. That Securitize is going public through the DAT that she was mentioning. So they're basically these digital asset treasuries that are holding cryptocurrency, but they're being held like a public company, right? So it's a public company that has a crypto treasury, and they're going to do things around that crypto treasury. Okay, so it's very, very interesting. Another one would be Evernorth, and we've talked about Evernorth a couple different times on this channel. So Stronghold saying they're set up to handle DATs, right? So maybe they're going to be doing that with XRP, handling these DATs and handling them in a DeFi manner. So perhaps these DATs will be moving treasuries and moving money in a way internationally we've never seen kind of before. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that works out. Again, all the more reason to have me be very, 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 very high on Stronghold. But your comment there, Kevin Garrett, brought it up for me, right? These DATs are happening, and even churches are starting to realize, okay, let's put this crypto on our balance sheet because it's going to be an appreciating asset. Why would we hold dollars when we can hold Bitcoin? Why would we hold dollars when we can hold XRP? Why would we hold dollars when we can hold, insert really good asset, Ethereum, right? So, kudos to that church there. I just found out about Zephyr privacy stablecoin. I heard it's a stablecoin, ZSD, and offering high yield API. I'm researching how to stake this. Got you. We just got to be patient, y'all. We're going to fight right through it. Yes, indeed. We're going to be all right. We are going to be all right. 100%. What's going on, Ruel? Tell me we are ready, please. What's up, Monarchy International Real Estate or Realty? Well, I think at the most we may have to fight until March, but that would be like one of the shortest bear markets ever. Just like we hit our all-time high in Bitcoin before the halving, this might be the shortest bear market in history, right? So if it was like October to March, that would only be, so October is what, the 10th month, so 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So it'll only be 5 to 6 months of a bear time, which wouldn't be bad at all. Shalom, what's up, brother Jack Thompson? Remember to smash the like, everybody. Thank you, Fred McIntyre. Definitely smash the like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're so close to 8,600 subscribers, knocking really hard on that door, trying to get over 9,000, to quote the Vegeta Dragon Ball Z meme, and definitely over 10K, which would be awesome. How many crypto YouTubers can say that they've done that? How many YouTubers, period, right? So what about Bitcoin Cash on base? A lot of people are starting to talk about Bitcoin Cash here lately. Kung Fu Tech, peace, Ruel, what's up? Hey, Ru, do you think UBI experiment will be tested in the other places other than New York with Coinbase? Do you think this test will be enough for them to determine how effective it might be? I think they really want to determine. I think the biggest thing they want to determine is, will it be easy for people to use the cryptocurrency? I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it easy. Because dealing with the wallet, dealing with, on the computer and all of this, it might be really complicated for people. And besides that, I think too, they want to understand how easy it will be because of Metaverse and things like that too. Because if they do want to move people to the Metaverse, they're going to have to understand that people have a easy time with the wallet. So, how people take their iPhone and they're just, we're just tapping and paying. Now imagine you got some agentic AI working out there for you, and it's just putting money on your phone as a wallet, because it's working for you in the Metaverse. One of the things also that came up, we were talking about and the open mic night was Metaverse. So I want to kind of share this to you guys. I think Metaverse is going to take a while to get to where it needs to go. So I'm not really high on Metaverse in the short term. In the long term, I am high on it. But this is the sandbox for a lot of you people that might not know about sandbox. Ticker Sand, like in all the different companies and things that are in here. I just wanted to show you guys this right quick. You got The Walking Dead. You got Warner Brothers Music, which I think they were just recently purchased by Netflix. Netflix has a spot in here somewhere too. You got FaZe Clan, which is one of the biggest esports companies, right? They were publicly traded, not anymore though. Someone bought that out. You got Snoop Dogg here, who has his own plot. You got Gucci, Time, got their own plot. Paris Hilton has her own plot. You see a couple Atari, for anybody who's old enough to remember what Atari is. They got a few different plots. Binance has a plot over here in the far corner, which is kind of hard to see, but they have one. I saw like Alta Beauty, for you guys who do, know about that type of stuff. Ubisoft. There's just so many companies in here. You could just go in for days. It's kind of hard here. My mouse is betraying me here. But you can go in and zoom in for days and find all of them. There's Alta Beauty right there. So, I mean, we are we'll get to a point where once all the laws are in place, once you got agentic AI and all of this stuff moving and running, then imagine now you got some agentic AI working for you in the metaverse somewhere. In this huge metaverse where, there are already companies already, right? It's kind of a cluster F to try to look at all of this, right? But we just showed you a few different people. I think CoinMarketCap, they have a plot somewhere. My mouse keeps wanting to zoom in on the wrong things here, but yeah, there's some league there in the corner. Gemini, humongous spot. Gemini Exchange, they have a huge spot there. Tesla apparently has a spot right here. I'm wondering if that's actual Tesla. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It could be. It could be actual Elon Musk with a spot here with Tesla. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different. Jurassic Park, apparently. I don't know if that's real or not. Jurassic World official estate. Yeah, so I think that is Jurassic Park's land in the metaverse there. So you got a couple different companies already in the metaverse, already, waiting for something to happen here. Wax, for people who were involved in that years ago. Wax is another cryptocurrency company with NFTs and things like that. FTX, apparently, the Winklevoss Capital guys, Nifty Gateway. So there's CoinMarketCap. So you got a few different companies in here. Sunhu and Kai Co, which is a big company. They have a lot of different crypto investments. So you got a few different companies in here. What's up, Dreamer? Patron, another patron in the house. Watching you in football, appreciate it. Arizona is ahead 7-3. Yeah, I always check out the Cardinals a little bit myself, even though I'm in Arizona, but I'm a Detroit fan because that's where I'm from. What's up, V Shake? Shit, reposted the stream. Monad, Coinbase's coin. Well, Monad is connecting itself to Base too, I'm hearing. I have to check more into Monad. The man, not the myth. What's up? Creative Control in the house. Appreciate you, brother. What's up, Kung Fu Tech? This must be accredited ambassador for OUSG, but you can get USDY on different chains. Accredited investors and qualified purchasers, whatever that means. Well, it just means that they seem to be having, the European rich get into the tokenization first. Has Canton Network come to eat XRP's lunch? Not necessarily. I think they're all gonna, kind of link in there, but they're not. They're not gonna eat XRP's lunch, as in like they're now what's going to be used for clearing central banks. No. What's up, California? So Ondo is a good and bad investment. Opinion wanted. In my opinion, not financial advice. I think Ondo is a great investment. They have many connections to BlackRock, many connections to all the big, huge companies. Like let's continue talking about that. So here with the Ondo bridge, the Ondo token bridge facilitates seamless transfers of Ondo tokens across many different blockchains. Again, this is showing you, since they can connect to all these different blockchains, not all these blockchains can have access to these Ondo tokens, access to the stock market 24/7 for global investors, global accredited investors. In collaboration with leading bridging technologies like XLR and Layer 0, we've integrated cutting-edge multi-chain communication primitives and a novel Ondo risk management. This ensures Ondo token holders can bridge real-world assets safely and efficiently, right? So it's great. Flux Finance Protocol, initially developed by Ondo, has been sold but remains part of their portfolio as a fork of Compound, which Compound was one of the first lending, borrowing cryptocurrencies, and then people started forking it, just like kind of Aave was one of the first lending and borrowing platforms, but it got forked by Inc, by Kraken. And technically you can think of Metal X's lending platform as kind of a Aave-esque type of platform. Other companies have these platforms too, the lending platforms. Swift Blockchain, I think, has one as well. So this would be Ondo's version. These yield-bearing assets have integrated into DeFi, enabling users to leverage them on protocols like Pendle or PinPi for layered yield strategies, potentially advancing real-world asset space significantly. Okay, so there we go. Yep. But let's continue. What's up, E? Our moderator in Telegram, Mr. Baby Ears here. What's good, fam? I had to double check back and take a look at the base app. I set it up when it was first released. I didn't like it. Maybe it's been updated. Good point about Canton, but no coin will ever rule all. Probably 6 to 10 super coins. And then next year I own, and then the next year, gotcha. I own top 20. Hey, Rue, what's up, Tony? Yes. Have you checked out Wi-Fi? We did look at that a little bit. I think I looked at it a little bit in the open mic night. It was interesting. I was watching this this show on Wi-Fi and what Wi-Fi meant. And it's interesting that I didn't know Wi-Fi really doesn't have a meaning. What they thought, what they settled on Wi-Fi meaning was wireless fidelity. And you look at that word fidelity, it actually means truth. So wireless truth. It's really interesting when you kind of think about when you think about what that implies and what that can mean. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff. But yeah, let's look at this Wi-Fi right quick. Because there's a goddess called Fides. And if you kind of look at Fidelity's logo, and I think my guy, shout out to Underdog Research Channel. I think my guy, Underdog Research Channel, broke this down, which is kind of ironic or funny because I'm usually the symbolism guy and he's usually a research guy, and he actually broke down symbolism on Fides, I think. So yeah, the goddess Fides, which is she's all about truth. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I think we broke it down that day on the show. How the Tether guy is doing this, and it's a payment system on Binance. Yep. We did kind of break that down. You know, a lot, and we can think that a lot of this might be white labeled Zebec. And they just said, okay, well, you can white label the system, and allegedly, like you can white label the system, and then you go start and get another coin on this system, right? Who knows? Who knows? I'm not saying that that's it. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it's interesting. Only reason I say like with Zebec, I like more is they have all these compliances. I would have to do some research on Wi-Fi and see what type of compliances they have, where they're planning to be used at, because Zebec, we already know they got these different compliances that they have, and they have the FedNow connection with NatPay. So I think they're miles ahead of other cryptocurrency companies that are trying to do this. But this is another one we probably should keep in mind as well. Let's continue here. BlackRock actually working against the West with Ondo. Well, I mean, I don't know that they're working against the West. They're just actually opening up more people with the opportunity to get into the stock market. So it's just going to bring more liquidity over, right? So I think we're getting to a point where with things like Ondo and how they're doing tokenization and how they're going to do this like gig economy, where it's like remotely you can be wherever you want to be, but like now you're just you can get paid wherever. But what it's going to truly going to do is it's going to give flexibility to the uber rich. So I can now live in Europe and just buy tokens from Ondo instead of having to live in the US and get access to the stock market. I can now live in Turkmenistan and be like employed by an American company that needs a software developer. And they can pay me now easy through a company like Zebec. And they're going to pay me less because I'm in Turkmenistan. The cost of living is a lot cheaper, and their American dollar is going to allow them to pay me like peanuts when really they would have had to have paid an American like 10 times the amount of money or 5 times the amount of money, right? So, I mean, this is where we're heading. So, it really makes me wonder for our kids, right? Is UBI going to be a reality for a lot of them? I don't know. I can't say. Check out Plume Finance and Plasma and Aster. Yep, our guy Underdog Research Channel really big on Plume, really big on Plume. I like Plume too. I have a little bitty tiny bit of Plume, but I'm gonna build that out. Super app coming out next week. Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Good to see you, brother, man. Let's go. What's up, Dave F. Jr.? Definitely hit the likes. Definitely hit the likes. Dynex Quantum DI coin coming out with an AI chip, runs at room temperature as well. Oh, cool. 5-month bear market is crazy. We almost, yeah, well, 5-month bear market would be just like crazy short, right? Because people are really trying to batten down the hatches and think they're going to be, we got another 2 years to wait, and 2020, 2030, 2030. Man, I think people are going to be very much shocked and surprised. What's up, Rue? What's up, Daniel Minshaw? Appreciate you. What's up, Judah? Judah has risen. Is there an actual coin called? I don't know. I don't know if there's a coin called X402. I know they were talking about X402 a lot, but and that's really just kind of like a protocol. What's up, Jay Shearer? Rue, what up, Doe family? What's up, Doe, bro? Appreciate you. Um, Jikes, I missed you starting. No problem, Phantom Beat. Thank you, Brother Creative Control, for reposting the stream. What do you think about Advantis? What's up, Hitter All Day? I haven't checked into that one, but I'll have to take a look. I just seen a video about Wi-Fi. They are trying to be a digital bank. Yeah, and there's a lot of people trying to be like the digital bank nowadays. What's up, Slap Your Mama? UBI will be normalized to our kids, unfortunately. Aerodrome and Velodrome seem to be coming on the roof. You hear anything about that? Shout out to the patrons who get a bi-weekly watch list. Aerodrome is on on the watch list. Aerodrome, which you very astutely made the connection that Aerodrome is like, I think Aerodrome is the #1 processor of money on the base platform. So as far as DeFi goes on the base platform, Aerodrome is one of the biggest processors of money on Coinbase, on base platform. So, shout out to the patrons. That's why it became a part of your watch list, because I did research on that. But yes, so Aerodrome is one that you may want to look out for. I remember when Aerodrome actually, like, I had it on, they wouldn't allow Americans into it. What do you know? Again, they did that, right? Where only place you could get it was Coin Bitmart. I had some Aero on Bitmart at 2 cents, and allegedly somehow they did something with it where they basically allegedly took it. So I would be very careful with Bitmart. If you're using Bitmart, just like always transfer stuff out of there. Be very, very careful with Bitmart if you can access it. What's up, Heiner Dog? What do you think about SHX? I'm really high on SHX. The things that they're doing, they're everywhere that Ripple is, and they have an escrow of 60 billion SHX. What are they going to use that 60 billion for? That really makes me think that coin is going to be very much worth something. Over $1. I can definitely see over $1. Epic, I need to do a video on Epic here too. Yeah. I used Arrow. It has some nice pools. What do you think about Coinbase December 17th update? Is it a super app rollout? Well, that's what we've been taught. That's what someone mentioned here. They said, where is it here? That they believe it's going to be something about a super app rollout. I might have closed that one. Here it is. Ondo puts Coinbase to provide US-based tokenized stock access to millions. Cross-chain capability with new rails loaded for integration onto Solana. Announcement December 17th. That's what they say. And they say Ondo base Sol. Then you had another guy saying basically, look, Ondo chain VChain 2 live, permission to L1 with BlackRock grade compliance, 50K TPS, OUSG, USDY, build L vaults yielding to like 5.8 to 11% real world APY, Flex Finance and Clearpool lending powered by Ondo from day one. BlackRock, Bildell, and Franklin Templeton, 18 billion tokenized funds via Ondo. JP Morgan, Onyx plus Apollo, 12 billion credit lines live on chain. Coinbase and Instant Mint redemptions. 90 plus chains bridged, 100 plus institutions live. At one, well, it was at $1.28 a while ago. But right now it's at like what, 50 something cents, 60 something cents. Definitely Ondo is one to be looking out for right now, in my opinion. Then we have this one. Real world asset plays are obvious. Ondo, Figures Prime token, basis Solana bridge. Just went live. So cross chain plays heating up. Monad building out serious AI agent infrastructure. Zcash had massive short streaks yesterday with Vitalik cosign. So very interesting there. The more and more I research, it looks as though these AI agents are going to be a big, if you can find and get the right coins. Yeah, so AI agents are going to be very, very big, I think. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean that these AI cryptos will be big, but AI agents with companies like Claude, with the Anthropic, and you know, ChatGPT and all of these different guys. With those, it seems like AI agents are going to be big. But as far as like companies kind of using AI as like a keyword, I would kind of stay away from something like that. But you know, AI agents seems like they're going to be big. Like you can just run them, and like if we talked about it before on here a little bit, like how AI agents can take scheduling for you. They can take payment, like for like a small business. Like if you have trouble like dealing with scheduling, you might want to just have an AI agent do that for you, where they can schedule for you. They can take the payment, and they can hook themselves right into a Calendarly, and you're done. You're nice and done. But yeah, guys, nice show. We did a nice little short hour-long show today. Definitely be on the lookout. And we'll see you again in the chat. Please put base in the chat, and I'll know that you got to the show, that you got through the entire show. If you put base in the chat after the show, after the live is over, and you put in the comments base, it will definitely spread the show around. We're on our way to 9,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much, and I'm out. Peace.